There's been a new meta in fitness since the 2020s, and it's called science-based lifting. To be honest, this started off with the best of intentions and has probably helped millions of people make better gains. Guys like this and this have pretty much transformed the fitness industry, cleaned out a lot of the BS, and continue to help tons of people. But what if there's a flip side? In this video, we'll get into how science-based lifting can actually hurt you rather than help you. Let's get into it. The first thing to say is that science is a bit like salt. You need just the right amount. You can have too little and then it's no good. If you have too much, then it's also no good. So it's about using science in the best way possible. And just like salt, it needs the main ingredients to be there to have its full effect. What's salt gonna do by itself? But if you have a great steak, then the salt just magnifies it. So what is the steak? In this case, it is the consistency, and if you like, it is the intensity with which you train. Now, a lot of people actually come into this thing and they're always thinking about what is the best exercise to build your chest? What is the best way to lose fat? What is the fastest way to grow your biceps? And you're trying to think about all this scientific best way. Just get in the gym, bro. Get training 3 times a week. Get that down first. Get the training down. Get the consistency down. Are you training for strength? Are you getting stronger every week? Get that stuff down. That's the basics. And then you sprinkle science on top. You sprinkle things like time under tension, the optimal number of sets, whatever the hell you want, the optimal number of rest, optimal amount of protein. Those come later, but I see so many people flip this the other way around. Before they've even got the food, they're just trying to sprinkle all the salt. Remember that there's a right amount of science, and it only matters once you got the basics down. Next, another thing to say is that science, because it's a tool, is obsessed with optimization. What is the best rep range for muscle growth and hypertrophy? Oh, it's 8 to 15 reps, and actually if you do partial reps, what is the best way to lose fat? Oh, well, you need to stay in a 500 calorie deficit and actually increase this and that and the other. You get into all these technicalities about how to best do something. Now, what you need to understand is that optimization by definition comes at the expense of other variables. So if you're maximizing muscle gains, which is what science is obsessed with doing, right? Best way to grow muscle, the best way to lose fat, that best way to build muscle, what is coming at the cost of that? Maybe consistency, maybe your enjoyment of the gym and training process overall, which will impact consistency, maybe your balance in terms of how do you balance the training with other aspects of your life, your ability to recover in time so you feel good. There's a myriad of other things that are just being neglected for the sake of maximum muscle growth. Now, this obviously makes sense if you're a bodybuilder. It makes sense if you're a guy who's just only caring about making gains. But if you're watching this channel, you probably have other things going on in life. You might even have other hobbies. You might have a full-time job or a family to care for. Are you obsessively maximizing muscle gains at that point? Or are you caring about things like health, about balance, about consistency? When you start to put in these variables, it's no longer about optimization for the sake of muscle growth. You might optimize for consistency. This is actually what I recommend for most people, and this is what I preach in my coaching community, Minimalist Training Club. The whole point of minimalist training is to get you training consistently. If you want to join that, so I coach you personally, hit the link below. We got coaching calls where I jump on calls with you. We got training routines that are designed just for the goal you need. We've even got mobility routines that help you recover from lower back injuries, knees, wrists, and shoulders. Get in there, check that out. I hope to see you inside. Let's get on to the next point. The other thing that science-based lifting neglects is movement, flexibility, and mobility. This area of training is so often neglected by people that are maximizing for muscle growth and hypertrophy. And you see these gym bros obsessing over the best chest exercise, the best back exercise. What about how you can move in diagonal planes and lateral planes? Like, let's say you're dancing, you're surfing, you're crawling, you're doing jiu-jitsu, you're doing judo, whatever the hell it is that you do. You want to look kind of fluid and flowy and healthy, right? You're training with science, got the optimal number of sets, the optimal amount of protein at 1 gram or 2 grams per pound of body weight. Hello, have you tried this? You weigh 155 pounds. Try to get 155 to 200 grams of protein every day, especially as a guy who's just coming into the gym. Because guess what? That's optimal, yeah? That's what science says, right? Even if science said 1 gram per pound of body weight, what is that optimizing for? That's optimizing for your muscle gains, not for your ability to stay consistent with your diet, to actually enjoy the food. This is another thing you need to take into account. Science-based lifting will not only sacrifice mobility and flexibility, it oftentimes will neglect other intangible variables that are critical for consistency and well-being, like your relationship with food, your enjoyment of food, and so on. Next, let's say you're actually a guy that's found a good rhythm with training. You live by the beach, you live in the city, you train 2-3 times a week, you got a healthy body, you have your hobbies, you don't look like the most jacked guy in the world, you're not the most like ripped person, but you got a good thing going. You're healthy, you're training right, it's a system that works for you. Now, science enters the chat and it says, yo, dude, are you doing negative partial reps? Oh, are you doing time under tension, maximizing that growth? You could be doing better with those bicep curls, man. You could be leaning down, really accentuating this. Did you add this element? Are you doing 15 to 20 sets per body part? Are you training body part twice a week? You start asking all these science-based questions, and suddenly this guy, seeing all this information, thinks, hang on a minute, am I doing everything wrong? Did I just screw up everything and waste years? Could I be doing this better? That guy's huge using science-based lifting. Maybe I need to do more. That's maybe why my biceps aren't as big as his. Do you see what's happening? Anxiety, the chase, body dysmorphia all start to enter because of all these other options and things that you think you need to be doing, when a guy who's just found some consistency and some level of intensity and rhythm to his training is actually doing better than 99% of people. Don't be comparing yourself to the optimal science guy. If you're training with consistency, again, science is like the extra sauce if you want to put it, but you might be doing things well already. And this is how science-based lifting can actually make you less satisfied about life and about your training, which is counterproductive. Next, they say you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain. When science came in, science, in fact, not just in fitness, but in every area of life and human history, has emancipated us and helped us take the next step. Building pyramids, electric cars, computers, this camera, it's all the result of science. It's also emancipated us from traditional beliefs that kept us bound to traditional ways and exposed certain myths. So I'm not trying to sit here and say science is bad. Science has done great things for us.
Yeah, Mr. White. Yes, science. Okay.
It's almost become the case where instead of using science as a tool that helps us become happier and healthier, we've almost become a slave to the science, and we're now always looking to the scientifically optimal way to train and comparing ourselves, trying to do this, trying to do that. The point isn't to be the most scientific guy in the world. The point is to be a healthy guy, a content guy when he goes in the gym, and a consistent guy when he's training. Get those things down. And I actually think I saw Chris Bumstead, of all people, the supposedly most aesthetic, the best bodybuilder in the world. I remember seeing a short where he was asked about science-based lifting, and he was like, for most guys, for most average bros and schmoes like you watching this right now and myself, science isn't the variable that's constraining you. The optimal number of sets and reps, whether you should train with a full stomach or have some carbs in the morning, whether you should get 1 gram of protein, that ain't holding you back, bro. It's consistency, it's rhythm, it's intensity, and it's strength gains. Focus on that first and add the science later. Again, if you resonate with my message, join me inside Minimalist Training Club, because this is what I preach. We get you training consistently first, then we sort out the diet, then we sort out the mindset, and by that time, science will have been sprinkled in just the right amount. See you next week. Bye-bye.